Hi everyone, how's everyone doing? Hope you're all well. Now, before we kick off with this webinar, if anybody's having any sort of technical challenges in viewing this webinar session at all, what I'd highly recommend is to go through the usual kind of troubleshooting methods that we all tend to go through if tech doesn't work for us first time around. So if you're tuning in on perhaps a laptop or a computer, feel free just to hit that refresh button on your web browser page right now. And hopefully everything should be kind of then loading correctly for you. Alternatively, if you tune in on a mobile device, such as your smartphone or a tablet, feel free to come out of the YouTube app and then click back on the link that you received for this webinar session, and hopefully everything should be working for you correctly. So feel free to kind of do that and just make sure that kind of everything is all kind of geared and set up for you. Now, one thing to note as well with this session is the fact that you are able to enable captions for this webinar session. So if you were to hover over this YouTube video, you'll see that little small CC icon. If you hit that, that will toggle captions on, so you'll be able to kind of get the captions coming through for this video in real time. So feel free to kind of toggle that on and off as you please throughout this session. And also feel free to have a pen and paper on hand throughout this session as well, especially with the topic that we're talking about today, which is all about online safety. So we all have kind of certain kind of rules that we kind of abide by ourselves and kind of things that we look out for ourselves. But there might be things in this webinar that you think, oh, do you know what? That's quite a good little tip, Rakesh. I might kind of jot that down and keep that in mind when I'm kind of when I'm maybe reviewing some settings, or I'm looking to implement another piece of software that can help me be safer online as well. So feel free to have a pen and paper on hand, just to kind of jot down notes as we progress throughout the course of this session. Okay, so I hope everybody's okay and is all geared up for this webinar session. So welcome to this Google Digital Garage webinar session, all about safety first, protect yourself online, in partnership with Which. My name is Rakesh. I'm going to be your webinar presenter, taking you through the course of this session, which is going to last for approximately 60 minutes. So I'll kick off with a little bit about me first. So I'm a trainer for Google's digital skills program, Google Digital Garage. As well as that, I'm also a digital marketer, so I work with businesses to help them to create and grow an online presence in order to attract more customers and clients to them respectively, or to their business offering respectively as well. Now, something, because I work in kind of the digital, kind of the online world, something that I'm very much kind of conscious and mindful of is online safety. And that's not just from a point of view from kind of a business perspective, but also a personal perspective. I'm sure many of you out there are the same as well. You typically kind of use different types of devices, different types of software in order to kind of communicate with friends and family across the world, and also to kind of complete kind of work, whether it be through kind of academic studies or actual employment as well. And so safety, and specifically online safety, does play a key role, and that's going to be the theme of today's webinar session. So we're going to be looking at how we can be as protected as possible online. So that's a little bit about me. I'd also like to introduce to you at this stage my colleague and fellow Google Digital Garage trainer, and that is Benedict. Now, Benedict is going to be our wonderful chat moderator. So whilst you won't see Benedict on screen, you will see Benedict appearing in the live chat. Now, the live chat, for many of you who are already on this page, you'll see is on the right-hand side of your page. So the live chat, feel free to get involved. That is your space over the course of this next hour to get involved. You will see questions on screen. So feel free to kind of get involved. Feel free to kind of let myself and Benedict know where you're tuning in from. I'd love to read out, read some of those kind of different parts of the world. I'm based in the UK myself, so feel free to kind of share where you're tuning in from today. As we go along throughout this webinar session, there'll be questions that both myself and Benedict would love to get your thoughts on as we go along. So feel free to kind of type away into that live chat. In order to actually type into that live chat box, you will simply just need to sign into your YouTube account, and then you can type away as we go along. Now, this session on safety first, protect yourself online, in partnership with Which, is one of many webinars that we actually run as part of a wider Google Digital Garage webinar offering. So if you have a look down below me, you'll see there's a video description box. Contained within there is a link to the Google Digital Garage website. And on that Google Digital Garage website, you'll find other webinars that you can book yourself onto. Many of you will already be familiar with the Google Digital Garage website, as you would have typically would have signed up for this webinar session using that website there. So definitely check out some of the other topics that we run webinars for. They are available for you to attend at no charge. another fantastic resource you'll find on the Google Digital Garage website, which is a resource available at no charge as well, is the online courses section, where you see a list of loads of online courses that you can complete in your own time and at your own pace. Now, there is one course in particular called the Fundamentals of Digital Marketing course, which is a course that has an added bonus. So as well as completing that course at no charge and gaining that knowledge, as well as that, you'll also receive a certificate from Google recognizing that you've completed the Fundamentals of Digital Marketing course as well. So definitely check out those resources when you do get a moment. But now, before we kind of go into what we're going to be covering in this webinar session on Safety First, Protect Yourself Online in partnership with Which, just want to kind of explain who are Which first and foremost. So Which are the largest independent consumer organization in the UK. So with Which, they have a long history of providing help, support, and advice to consumers on all issues that matter to them. So in combination with kind of Which's long history and experience in making things as easy and streamlined for consumers, they've kind of had that kind of synergy with Google's kind of deep understanding of technology. Hence, this webinar session was born of Safety First, Protect Yourself Online. So in this session, we're going to be covering, first of all, ways to be safer online. The keyword is there, being safer. So I'm not kind of going to be going through and saying things that is going to keep you 100% safe, because it's a forever evolving space. But there are kind of good practices that we can look to kind of uphold, which we're going to be kind of running through. Once we've done that, we're then going to be looking at how we can identify some of the common threats that currently exist online. And some of these threats you might think, yeah, Rikesh, I kind of know how to spot a spoof email. And that's fine. But it's just something to kind of refresh ourselves at times on as well. And then we'll just wrap up this session just to kind of look at what happens if we do kind of fall foul of maybe a scam that appears, and we've kind of taken an action which in hindsight we think, oh, I wish I didn't do that now. So we'll kind of look at kind of the steps that we can then take to kind of rectify to rectify what we've done and make sure that we kind of create that safety bubble once again for us as well. So just kicking off with a question of where everybody's tuning in from. Let me kind of just dive into the live chat and see where everybody is tuning in from today. So we have Tan tuning in from Malaysia. So welcome to you, Tan. We've got Antonio tuning in from Mozambique. Welcome to you, Antonio, as well. We've got Adam tuning in from Morocco. Welcome to you, Adam, as well. And we've also got Valeria tuning in today. And we've also got Nasern tuning in from Uganda. So welcome to you all. I really hope that you find this webinar session useful, and feel free to get involved with some of the other questions that you'll see popping on screen. So Valeria just mentioned, because I was trying to sort of find where you're tuning in from, Valeria, but you mentioned you're tuning in from Italia, so Italy. So fantastic. Welcome to you. Always great to see that we've got a worldwide audience, which is fantastic to see in the live chat. So I want to kick off this session by showing you some stats, some figures here, all to do with cybercrime. So you can see that first figure, £132 billion. This is the figure that was reportedly stolen by hackers. And this figure was accurate as of 2017. So you can kind of just see by that figure alone, cybercrime is big business. So you can also see that when it comes to kind of the second statistic here on screen, 80 million COVID-19 scam emails are blocked by Google every day. And this is via essentially Gmail. So these cyber criminals essentially are very clever, very kind of adept at adapting to kind of the current affairs, and looking to kind of prey on these current affairs when they're looking to essentially create crimes against, and kind of look to kind of scam people like us who are just generally on the internet and are looking to kind of be safe in what we are doing as well. You can also see here another figure that there's over 700 fake websites that have been set up, which are mimicking the likes of Netflix and Disney Plus sign-up pages. And this kind of coincides, and I'm sure that figure must be escalating and escalating over time. And this kind of coincides with the fact that kind of over the past couple of years or so, as we haven't been able to kind of be out and about as often as we would have liked to have, more people were able to kind of sign up to these kind of streaming service providers. And that is something which cyber criminals would have cottoned onto and are looking to kind of take advantage of. In that respect as well. Now, there are a lot of kind of misconceptions that we all tend to have generally with cybercrime. So there's a lot of cyber misconceptions that we tend to have, such as, I don't have anything worth stealing. Now, I used to think like this. I was like, oh, I don't really have much worth to steal years ago. I was like, okay, fine. But the fact that you have an identity, that is kind of value enough. That's worth stealing all to itself. If somebody has kind of your full name, has your address, and has other kind of personal details of yours, that's something which is very kind of valuable, and something that really kind of awakens the eyes of cyber criminals out there as well. Now, another misconception is that people might think, oh, it's just kind of big businesses that usually get attacked with cybercrime, so it's just going to be these corporate organizations, and that's not the case. Like, according to kind of the Institute of Directors in the UK alone, which is where I'm based, 5.4 million small businesses are collectively attacked more than 7 million times a year. And that's just small businesses. I don't have the facts and figures in regards to kind of the big businesses, but it just goes to show that it doesn't matter whether you're a large corporation or whether you're a small, maybe startup as well. Everybody can be kind of susceptible to cybercrime as well. Something like my smartphone isn't vulnerable to cybercrime, or devices can't get viruses. Again, that's another misconception that we tend to have, and we'll kind of have a look at a little bit more look at that later on as well. And something else that we have a look at later on is public Wi-Fi is safe. I'm sure many of you out there might be thinking, Rikesh, I don't think that either. I don't think public Wi-Fi is safe at all. And that's correct. That's a great way of thinking. But that's a misconception that people might have. I had that years ago because I thought, oh, great, you know, I'm in a coffee shop, fantastic, free Wi-Fi. Let me just hook straight onto that without kind of thinking it through and thinking, okay, well, how many other people are on there? Is it secure? Is it kind of encrypted? All these kind of other questions that we should be really questioning ourselves on before we go ahead and connect. And something like opening spam can give you a virus. So the simple act of opening a spam message is something not for is not really cause for concern into itself. It's more of a case of, if you then take action off the back of that, then that's something to then consider about, okay, then I need to take some action to kind of look to protect myself going forward after that. And that's another thing that we'll kind of discuss a little bit later on going forward. So just checking in, see if there's any sort of comments or questions, which I can't see in at the moment, which is fine, because we're just kind of getting warmed up into this webinar session. Now, if there are any questions, feel free to pop them into the live chat as we go along. So let's actually kick off with looking at ways in which we can be safer online. So the ways that we're going to be covering here are, we're going to be looking at how we can protect our devices. Because we all have devices these days, don't we? Our primary device is a smartphone, but we also have other devices like laptops, like tablets as well. Many of us have kind of multiples of these as well. So we want to make sure that we're protecting them. We also want to kind of watch out for public Wi-Fi. And that's something that we touched upon earlier on, but we're going to be deep diving a little bit more into that coming up very shortly. We also want to look to shop online safely, because more and more of us over a period of time have kind of gone from kind of in-person shopping to online shopping as well. We also want to look to kind of check in on our security settings to see what we're doing, making sure that we're up to date with our settings, and making sure that we're only sharing what we want to share as well. So we're having that ownership over that as well. And then finally, we'll be kind of looking at ways in which we can kind of strengthen our passwords as well. So in terms of protecting your devices, the biggest thing that I would like to kind of impart when it comes to kind of protecting your devices is it's a sense of mindset. Because the way that I like to kind of think of my device, such as a smartphone, such as my laptop, such as a tablet, is I want to kind of always think of it like a passport. because that's kind of the one thing that we always kind of make sure that we have on us, and we always make sure that we know where it is as well, right? And that's what we want to do with something like our device, like our smartphone, which is probably the most kind of like for like kind of size comparison to something like a passport. But other devices we want to kind of treat the same as well. Now, in terms of other tips to help protect our device, we want to update our software. So when the software updates on our smartphone, for example, we want to make sure we run them, because these software updates a lot of the time provide security fixes as well. So there might be bugs within the system, or maybe kind of hackers might have kind of found ways in which they can get into people's devices or cause kind of malicious damage through those devices. Then kind of a lot of the kind of the phone manufacturers and the specifically kind of the software providers for your smartphones will be able to kind of provide kind of fixes and patches for them as well. So we want to make sure that we're keeping up to date with them. Use a screen lock as well. So whether that be kind of a PIN code, or whether that be something like a pattern, and then we can also look to combine that with maybe our fingerprint to get into our devices, such as smartphone, or something like face detection as well. And if we lose our phone, what we can do is, as you can see with this graphic here on screen, is that we can actually lock our phone down, so we can secure our device. So if we've lost it and we've got no hope of kind of finding it, what we can do is, hopefully we would have backed up and we're backing up on a regular basis, so we can look to kind of lock our phone down. What we can also do usually is we can also sort of erase all the contents on our device. So we're keeping all our personal, private, confidential information just like that. Just keep it confidential. So if anybody does eventually get into your device, such as a cyber criminal, then they won't be able to kind of access any of our information, because we've wiped the whole device remotely as well. Now, in terms of kind of Wi-Fi hotspots and kind of Wi-Fi spots anyway, in kind of public Wi-Fi areas, we want to just be kind of mindful of that, because we'll talk about this in a few moments' time. But the way that I like to kind of look at public Wi-Fi is that it's not just you being on your Wi-Fi. It's not like being at home where it's just you and the other people in your home that have access to your home Wi-Fi, which is a closed off network. With kind of public Wi-Fi, it's just a case of, oh, let me get the username, let me get the password, let me type it in, and anyone can do that. So if you're in a busy coffee shop, loads of people can be doing that as well. And the risk that we tend to run is we don't know these other people. All these other people that are in the coffee shop, they might already all be cyber criminals, just kind of just trying to kind of act as if they don't know each other, and all of them are looking for a target to kind of to get into somebody's device and maybe grab their personal details as well. So that's something to be really kind of mindful of there as well. So before kind of going into a little bit more detail about kind of public Wi-Fi, just take a look at this video, which just kind of gives a bit more insight in terms of some extra tips on being safe on the go. We've already touched upon some of these, and then some of these we haven't yet touched on. So feel free just to kind of take a look at this video.
Very often, we access our email services or social network accounts on the go. On mobile devices, all services that you use are accessible through apps, and therefore only one tap away without having to log in every time. That's why it is important to learn how to keep these devices protected. Locking your device helps you in case you leave it behind, or if you're worried about someone else scrolling through your phone. Most mobile devices offer options to create a PIN or a pattern. If you prefer a PIN, it's a good idea not to use consecutive series such as 1, 2, 3, 4, or personal information such as your birthday or address. The same principle applies to patterns. Try not to use patterns that are easy to guess, like geometric figures. Some devices also give you the option to hide your pattern when you draw it, so that it becomes invisible. It's good to be cautious about the apps, games, and videos and attachments you download, because they could harm your devices and put your personal information at risk. Beware of anything that claims that your phone is infected or asks for your password or personal information. You could accidentally download unwanted or potentially harmful applications, or give someone you don't trust access to your account. To prevent this, a good rule of thumb is to always download apps from reputable sources like the official App Store on your phone. It's also important to read the reviews and comments from other users and look for potential safety problems with the app. This can help you decide if it's secure to download the content. Once in a while, you might also receive notifications to download system updates on your mobile. It's important to keep all your devices up to date since new versions can help fix security problems identified in previous versions. Finally, always remember to be extra careful whenever you go online using a network you do not know or trust, such as when using free Wi-Fi at a local cafe, because it could be easily intercepted. When on public networks, avoid signing into your accounts or making purchases, since your passwords and financial information could be compromised. Now you know the importance of screen locks, safe downloads, system updates, and Wi-Fi networks. Decide what safety settings are right for you and set boundaries around how much information you share, when and where while using mobile devices.
Okay, so I hope that kind of made a little bit more sense in terms of what we've spoken about already, and there was a few extra tips in there. Now, if you weren't able to kind of grab all of the tips that were in that short video there, I'm sure that Benedict will be able to kind of drop a link in for the YouTube video for that particular video, so you can kind of go back, kind of pause, and kind of jot down notes as well. Now, one thing that was mentioned towards the end of that video was about public Wi-Fi in terms of the signal being kind of intercepted. In that respect as well. And that's something that we always want to be mindful of, because as I mentioned, we don't know who else is on that same Wi-Fi network as us in a public space. And we have a lot of kind of common public Wi-Fi mistakes that we all tend to do at times. And I've been guilty of this myself as well. So things like kind of doing your online banking, that's probably the most kind of personal thing that we can probably do online, is personal banking and online banking rather. So when it comes to public Wi-Fi, at all costs, we want to try and steer away from that. Ideally, even if we have kind of limited amount of data on our mobile plan, we just want to kind of make sure that we're allocating our data towards tasks like that when we're out and about and we need to do some online banking. Then we don't want to connect to the public Wi-Fi. We want to make sure that we just use our whether it be 3G, 4G, or 5G to kind of to ensure that we are doing that particular task there as well. Another kind of common public Wi-Fi mistake we make is assuming that Wi-Fi is faster than 3G or 4G or 5G. A lot of the time it's not, because if you think about it, there's a lot of people a lot of the times connected to the public Wi-Fi, and that's something which kind of drives the speed down, because everybody's grabbing a little bit of speed from this network. So in terms of the little bit of speed that you're getting, you're only getting it in order to maybe do a little bit of web browsing or scan through something like your social media. So you're not able to kind of stream an episode of a TV show that you're watching on Netflix or anything like that. And if you do, it's probably buffering quite a lot of the times that you tend to find on public Wi-Fi as well. Another kind of common public Wi-Fi mistake is not securing your device as well. So that's something to be mindful of, which we'll talk about coming up later on as well. Also doing too much. So kind of jumping online, doing a lot of web browsing, going on social media. Is this stuff that you really need to do in a public Wi-Fi place at all times? I know that we kind of use our smartphones for pretty much everything these days, but are we doing too much? And is there some things that we can just leave for our for when we're able to connect to data as well? And even things such as kind of installing software, we kind of saw kind of how to kind of download apps and make sure that we kind of go through the official channels and download only trusted apps. But we want to make sure that we're doing that kind of on a private connection, like our home Wi-Fi or on data, as opposed to doing that in a public Wi-Fi place as well. Now, something very that we also need to kind of very much kind of keep in mind is we want to make sure that we're being safe when we're shopping online as well. So, question I'd love to kind of put to you all is, what do you consider when you're kind of making that decision of where do I shop online? So, if you need to buy a pair of jeans, what would you consider in terms of which shop you would actually kind of browse at and look to kind of buy from as well? What are some of the criteria? So let me know in the live chat what some of your criteria that you tend to kind of look out for from a safety aspect. So for me, something that always kind of comes to my mind is when I'm looking to buy something online is I look for a sense of kind of familiarity at times. So if I've bought from a specific retailer before, I kind of know, do you know what, they're legitimate and more so than ever. And there's also a few other kind of telltale signs that we all tend to have. I think that's very kind of important consideration when we're kind of deciding, oh, shall I shop with this this provider, or shall I shop with that provider as well? Now, just seeing a comment here from Tan, who's mentioned how kind of how VPN is working. So VPN is something which is VPN stands for virtual private network. That could be maybe a consideration in terms of if you're shopping, and let's say you mentioned that you're based in Malaysia, and let's say that you are visiting the UK, but you want to shop for something for a retailer that's based in Malaysia. You can use something like a virtual private network, which will help you to kind of access certain websites which might not be readily accessible maybe in the UK, and so that's something to kind of consider as well. But there's lots of different kind of considerations. Now, there's a lot of kind of signs that we can spot when we're shopping online to make sure that these are safe websites. One of the biggest signs that we tend to have is that padlock. So if you go onto any kind of website, majority of the trusted ones anyway will have that padlock, and that shows that it's a trusted website to kind of go onto, and that hence why there is that logo of an actual padlock there as well, to kind of show that kind of security aspect as well. Just another comment here from Valeria has mentioned about kind of physical kind of activities, and in terms of my kind of interpretation of that comment there, Valeria, correct me if I'm wrong, it's more a case of have other people shopped there as well? Is it things like kind of reviews as well? Have other people been there? It's kind of other people are kind of vouching for, yes, I've shopped there before, or you're getting some fantastic reviews coming through as well. I think that's kind of an important factor as well. Now, in terms of kind of shopping online securely, we want to look for, as I mentioned, familiar websites. We want to make sure that it's secure. You can see with this graphic, you can actually, with this on something like Google Chrome, you can just click onto that padlock and it'll say connection is secure. Now, when the padlock is off, that's when you want a few kind of alarm bells to be going off, like, should I really be on this website? Another thing that you can do is check the privacy policy of that particular website, because then you can actually have a look at what kind of information is stored in terms of the people that come and visit the website as well. So what details are they taking of yours there as well? And one thing that you want to do when you are shopping online is to try and steer away from storing your kind of your credit card or debit cards with that particular online shop or kind of retailer, even though they try and steer you in that direction of saving your details because it's quicker to check out the next time you buy something, which is kind of in their best interest that you buy as quickly as possible. You're making the process as easy as possible for yourself there. However, for me, as a rule of thumb, I tend not to store my card details on any kind of retailer website, and instead, if I am going to be checking out, I'll kind of check out with providers such as likes of kind of PayPal, which are kind of external. I'll have to type in my login details every single time that I'm sort of buying through payment providers like that as well. Now, in terms of maintaining your security settings, you can actually have a look at the likes of kind of for your Google account, you can do a security checkup. See what information is being shared, what you are hiding as well. And this is something that you just want to kind of do on a regular basis, a little bit like you do with kind of a little bit of a spring clean in your home. Just do this every so often. Just make sure that the settings are in accordance with what you want to share and what you want to keep private as well. Now, something that was mentioned in the video is also we want to be cautious with the apps that we download on our device and on our mobile devices here. So as was mentioned in the video, we only want to download apps that are from our devices' official app stores. So if you have an Android device, then you want to download from the Google Play Store. And then if you have an iOS device, you want to download from the App Store as well. And also, before we even download them, we actually want to go through a bit of a vetting process to check for kind of the reviews for certain apps. And make sure kind of other people are kind of rated it quite well. And also we want to kind of check permissions. So I've had apps before, they might just be kind of games. I think they're probably games that I downloaded before, like games apps that I've downloaded on my device before. But then some of them are actually asked for permission to use my camera and my microphone. I'm like, well, that's not even part of the game either. So that's something that can ring alarm bells and think, well, why do they need that as well? And then you can actually click don't allow in that respect with the permissions if you wish to do so as well. And finally, another kind of consideration in order to kind of be safer online is to strengthen up our passwords. So in terms of passwords, we want to use strong passwords. We want to make sure that we are considering something like password software, and also looking to use something like two-step verification, or two-factor authentication, as it's also known as well. So in terms of strong passwords, the easiest way, as you can see here on screen, to create strong passwords is to start off with 3 random words. Now, you've got an example here on screen of cat, stranger, and blue. And then you've got numbers, so you've got 14, and then you've got a special character, which in this case is the British pound sign. And then what you can then do off those 3 random words plus the number or numbers, and then the special characters, you can create variations. So you've got variation such as dog, stranger, green, 14, and then the dollar sign as well. So that's something that can sort of help you when it comes to sort of remembering passwords as well. But if you're a little bit like me at times and you think, do you know what, Rikesh, I've got so many passwords to remember and my memory is not great at all, then what you can then look to do is incorporate and kind of use password managing software out there. And there's a lot to kind of choose from. You've got kind of Google Smart Lock. You've also got the likes of kind of LastPass. You've got the likes of 1Password. I've used LastPass and 1Password myself before as well. And how they typically kind of work is that they kind of work a little bit like a vault. So a vault, you go in and put all your passwords in for all of your websites that you've kind of created signups and logins for. You put all that in the vault, and then you essentially lock it with one master password. But that's the one password that you need to remember in order to unlock all the other passwords. So that's the one thing that we have to do. So we can look at kind of password management software. Some are available for free, some are paid for as well. But it's something which is definitely worth the investment to kind of consider, especially when it comes to our online safety as well. Now, you've also got the Google Password Manager. So for those of you who use Google Chrome as your web browser, you would have encountered this, where you can get suggestions for passwords, and that can be stored. So then when you go back onto that website to then log in or sign in, then that will kind of come in as a drop down. So you're not having to remember every single time your username and password going forward as well. And then you've also finally got two-step verification. So this is kind of adds an extra layer. So once you've logged in, let's say to your Google account, you can see with this graphic here, it will then kind of maybe prompt you to go onto another device of yours, which you've linked to your Google account, to then press a specific button and say, yes, accept. I am the person who's logging into my Google account now. So it provides that level of kind of extra level of security there as well. It might be that a text message gets sent to your smartphone device, and you type in that code, or the text message, or that number gets sent to an email address that you set up as well. It just kind of gives that extra level of security there. Now, speaking of security, we can also look to kind of install antivirus software on our devices. And you can see some examples of kind of antivirus brands out there. You've got some free options, you've got some paid options. Now, these are kind of based on which is best buy options, which they've evaluated, and they've categorized them into free and paid options. So in the free options, you've got lots kind of AVG, Avast, you've got ESET and Norton in the paid categories. And then you've got Bitdefender, which kind of have a freemium offering at times as well. So it's definitely something to consider. And again, even with kind of the paid options, it's important to kind of consider, okay, is this going to be a worthwhile investment to kind of keep myself secure and safe online as well? So that's kind of a few things to kind of consider there as well. So let's have a check-in, see if there's any sort of comments or questions at this stage. I can't see any comments or questions at the moment, but I can just see a comment from Tan, who's mentioned about kind of who has mentioned about kind of which with passwords, it's all about kind of structure. Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes it really kind of helps embed in your mind, like using something like the 3 random words. You can use more, 4 or 5 if you want, although it's a lot more typing when you're kind of logging in, to be fair as well. So I think that's something very much that we can kind of look at with that as well. So thanks very much for that comment there. If there's any further kind of comments, questions, feel free to pop them in the live chat. If I'm not able to answer them all, I'm sure that Bendit will be able to kind of provide his thoughts on them as we go along. So let's have a look at some common threats. that kind of exist online. Some of these you might have encountered. I certainly have before. And how do we actually kind of navigate our way through some of these threats that exist out there? So, question I'd love to kind of put to you all, and let me know your answers or your thoughts in the live chat is: can you describe what malware means? What do you think malware is? What is it in terms of this threat? What is malware? So, some of you might not have necessarily heard of the word malware, but you might have heard of ransomware or Trojan or Trojans, plural. So these are types of malware as well. So let me know in the live chat what you kind of think in regards to kind of what malware means, because many of us kind of hear about kind of these buzzwords when it comes to kind of internet and online safety and security as well, but we don't really know what it kind of does. You know, what are these kind of buzzwords that kind of banded around as well. So feel free to kind of let me know your thoughts in the live chat as we go along. Now, in terms of what malware is, by kind of its kind of definition, so malware is essentially software which is designed to steal or attempt to steal your personal details or cause genuine harm to your computer. And you can see in this kind of this bullet point list of how could I get malware, it can happen in multiple different kind of forms. So through kind of opening up attachments, from emails that are purportedly meant to be real and genuine from genuine companies and brands out there. So opening those up, that can kind of lead to malware. Also kind of downloading software from malicious websites or websites which you think are legitimate, but they're not necessarily. They're actually malicious websites, and even through online adverts as well. So let's have a look at some examples of malware that kind of exist out there. One of them is the good old attachment scam. So with the attachment scam, a lot of the times you'll be able to kind of spot them nowadays. I think many of us are quite sort of adept at kind of spotting some of these scams out there. So and the beauty is a lot of the email providers also give us a lot of comfort in they kind of flag it up to us as well. So this is a screenshot of an email on a Gmail, where you've got Gmail who are flagging to us saying, be careful with this message in the red banner. It might contain a virus or a malicious link. That's kind of the first warning sign there. And then you've also got kind of a second one which says antivirus warning. So it's got another kind of another flag there for you as well, for you to kind of really evaluate, do I want to be downloading this file as well? And also kind of another kind of sign to kind of spot with this screenshot that you can see here is that the actual attachment seems a little bit kind of suspect, because the name of the file is list8.pdf.zip. So what is it? Is it a PDF? Is it a zip? It can't really make its mind up. So that's another kind of cause for concern and a cause for kind of evaluation as well. So that's something to really kind of consider with malware. Just picking up on a comment here from Adam, who's kind of answering that question in terms of thoughts on what malware is and what it's kind of designed to do. So Adam's mentioned here, malware is any software intentionally designed to cause disruption to a computer, server, client, or computer network. Absolutely, Adam. You've kind of hit this head on. And that word there, intentionally, there's intent there. So it's kind of a deliberate act that these scammers are doing with things like attachment scams out there as well. Another type malware that you do tend to get are pop-up scams. Now, I remember getting this a number of years ago. This exact scam. On my laptop a number of years ago now, and this is something that really kind of it scared me. I was like, oh, what do I do? Now, luckily, I kind of just thought, right, let me just go onto another device, Google this, and actually find out what is this all about. And then I found out that it's an actual scam, and I can just click the X, and that's it. It's simply a pop-up. But these pop-ups are designed to scare us into then taking specific types of actions, or maybe calling a specific number where it might be a premium number, so you're actually getting charged minute by minute, and that's where the scammers are making money perhaps as well. So that's something to kind of be mindful of there as well. So malware is something to be really kind of mindful of. So this is kind of maybe a little bit more kind of type of kind of ransomware as well. You've got to pay X amount of money to us in order to get access to to get back access to your device perhaps as well. Now, another type of kind of threat that exists online is phishing scams. So not phishing as in kind of the where we go down to the lake with a rod. None of that. Phishing is a type of scam which is designed by scammers to gain our trust in order for us to actively give away our personal details or actively give away our money and say, "Oh, here's my bank details. Please take them so that you can log in and take all of my money." So that's what phishing scams are designed to do. They're kind of looking to kind of gain our trust, and then once they've gained our trust, then they're kind of looking to obtain our details from us as well. Now, one of these phishing type scams that has been going around over the past couple of years has been the COVID-19 scam. So you can see an example of that in action on screen here with a text message. Supposedly from the UK government, which it clearly isn't, whereby you can see it says that you left the property 3 times during lockdown, you've been fined so much amount of money, please check the guidelines and please call this number to make a payment. Now, that number is actually a mobile number, and if you were to actually click on that text message, the telephone number that it was sent from would definitely not be from the UK government. So there's a lot of kind of things and a lot of things that we might naturally think, oh, they've actually got a link to the official government website here. That actually looks quite legitimate. So these scammers are very much kind of they're always kind of looking to stay ahead of the game. And as we kind of saw from the stats at the beginning of this webinar session, it's big business. You're talking billions, right? That these scammers are looking to kind of make each and every single year going forward as well. So we just want to be mindful of these out there, and even kind of all of these kind of these scams, even like scam emails that you can see here on screen with like a PayPal email, which is apparently from them, even though it says "Hello PayPal customer" rather than saying "Hello Rikesh" or "Hello Benedict," for example. And then also there's a few extra kind of things in there, which the terminology it'll create kind of fake case numbers. It will say click here, so you actively actually have to click into that email, and that link might not necessarily be going to your actual PayPal account. So what you can actually do, rather than if you think, there's something going on with my PayPal account, it's been compromised, well, just go into the proper PayPal website, don't click anything within that email, and just check if everything's okay. And I've had to do that a couple of times myself when I get some of these kind of spam emails from certain retailer websites, and they're like, "Oh, click here to change your password and do this or do that, or change your card details or whatever it might be." And I never do that. I never click on the link ever inside any of these kind of emails or messages that come forward as well. So all of these that we're kind of talking through, it's not to kind of scare or alarm any of you out there. It's just to make us aware, because once we're aware of it, it might just kind of come back in our minds like, oh yeah, I was on this webinar session, on this Google Digital Garage webinar session with Rikesh, and he was mentioning about kind of phishing types of emails and maybe some malware as well. And that maybe springs to mind. Maybe that kind of creates a sense of kind of doubt in your mind before you actually go ahead and actually take a particular action as well. Now, you've also got the HMRC scam. So HMRC stands for Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs. So in the UK, that's essentially the tax office. And you've got kind of messages like these saying you've got a tax refund due. To proceed, click on this link, fill out your details in a form, give us your bank details, and then we'll make that payment. Naturally, you think, yes, brilliant, I'm going to get some free money back here. Fantastic. Where do I sign up? So instead of doing that, just go, again, sign in directly to your HMRC account. And check that everything's all okay and in order as well. And if in doubt, you can always kind of look to kind of ring these brands or kind of the tax office in this example as well. Just kind of go on to their official website, find their official telephone number, give them a call and say, was this you? Just to kind of double check as well. Now, another type of kind of scam is farming. Now, an example of that is here on screen. Now, which one do you think? Is it the left or the right hand side? Is kind of the genuine Amazon order confirmation? Let me know in the live chat. Just type in left or right as the one that you think is genuine, and which the other one will be fake essentially. So just type in left or right in terms of the one that you think is the real one. Now, because I'd just like to kind of gauge just to see what everybody's like, because I know kind of a number of years ago I probably would have got this wrong, But there's quite a few kind of signs that can sort of point us in the right direction in terms of which is kind of the real kind of Amazon order confirmation and which isn't. So if you just let me know left or right, and then I'll be able to kind of reveal the answer in just a moment. So a few kind of things to kind of look at is just I would kind of hint to kind of look from kind of the top down to the bottom and kind of just work your way down to see what are some of the kind of the telltale signs. So Antonio's mentioned left is the correct one in your opinion. Okay, so you've mentioned that. Let's see if anybody else is able to kind of jot in whether you think the left or the right one is the correct one, or the actual genuine one rather than the fake one there as well. So you've kind of mentioned left. So if I actually now kind of go ahead and actually reveal the answer for you. So Antonio, you are absolutely correct. So the left one was the correct or the genuine Amazon order confirmation here. Now let's actually have a look at the one that was actually fake, or the one that was pretending to be real. So this is actually known as another type of scam, which is called farming. Now, farming is essentially a little bit kind of elevated from phishing, which is designed to gain your trust. Now, this is a little bit more a case of farming is looking to kind of dig a little bit deeper, whereby the scammers here are actually looking for you to enter your secure details, whether that be payment information, whether that be kind of a password to your email address, because once they have that, they can then go into your account, change details, buy things under your credit cards that you might have stored in. And as I mentioned, it's definitely not best practice to kind of store any cards at all. And they can essentially take control of your account. So that's kind of farming as well. And you can see kind of examples here that in terms of the one, this Amazon invoice scam here, the one thing that you'll notice is that it's not actually come from Amazon.co.uk, even though the title of the email address says support-user@amazon.co.uk. The actual email address it's come from is crose@one.iu.edu. It doesn't seem like it's correct. Something doesn't quite add up there either as well. And when you were to clear, and there's also like one link that appears within this email, which says if you haven't authorized a transaction to go through, visit the help page. And if you click on that help page link, that takes you to something like you can see with this smaller screenshot, which looks like it's kind of a Microsoft Outlook kind of login here. So it raises some alarm bells. Well, am I logging into my Amazon account here? Am I logging to an Outlook account here? What's going on here? So again, alarm bells can be raised at this time. Other types of farming scams that exist out there are in kind of instant messaging apps, such as the likes of kind of WhatsApp. You might have seen these kind of flying around. I've definitely had kind of friends and family members who have kind of forwarded these on, where they say, oh, if you forward this message on to 10 people, you will then get a £100 gift card at your local supermarket. So these are kind of more scams that kind of exist out there as well, just to be mindful of. Now, you might be thinking, well, Rakesh, I'm actually good. I'm able to kind of spot. I was correct. I selected left as the genuine Amazon order confirmation. And I think I know my stuff when it comes to phishing as well. You know, I know how to kind of spot a legitimate PayPal email from one which is pretending to be real. If that's the case, what I'd recommend to you is definitely check out the link which you can see here on screen, which is phishingquiz.withgoogle.com. Just to kind of put your knowledge to the test. You'll see kind of, I believe it's kind of 8 to 10 questions, and it'll kind of give you what we've just gone through with that Amazon invoice. It'll kind of give you a side-by-side comparison, and you select which one you think is the real one or which one you think is the fake one out there as well. Now, you've also finally got social media scams that exist out there. So this is where people are kind of pretending to be other people, and then they go ahead and maybe kind of request the money and look to kind of commit crime and fraud, essentially. So you can see examples of this which are on screen here. So you can see here with a very old kind of Instagram screenshot that there's this advert which is purportedly from Apple Store UK, but it's got kind of the pricing of some iPhones, and then it's got it crossed out, and it's saying it's actually £0. So that always seems a little bit suspect. And then if you were to click learn more, they might take you to a website which purportedly looks like the Apple Store website. But then when you go ahead, you're basically going to be then exchanging money over some, even though it says it's free, you're going to be exchanging money over or details over, like personal details over to the scammers there as well. And you can also see that some people also go to the lengths of creating creating a kind of a duplicate version of somebody's kind of Facebook profile or Instagram account, just to pretend that they are who that they are that person. Because then once they've done that, they can create a bit of trust. Then they can kind of look to request money from a family member or who that person believes that they are a family member of, even though it's just a scammer, just using your name, using your photos, for example, as well. I actually had this instance with a number of years ago. Not with myself, but there was somebody who I went to school with, and that actually happened to her, where somebody else had created an account and looked to kind of add the same sort of people as well. So if in doubt, and you get somebody requesting to be friends with you, and you're already friends with them, for example, or you already follow them, just get in touch with them, especially if you've got their personal details. Just give them a quick call, or drop them a quick text message just to make sure. Have you had to set up a new account? What's going on? If it's not, if they say no, I've not set this up, then that's something that can then be reported to the social media companies out there as well. So with that in mind, let's have a check-in, see if there's any sort of comments or questions at this stage, which I can't see any, which is hopefully good. Hopefully you've got some kind of food for thought there with some of the common threats that kind of that typically exist online. And as I mentioned, there's nothing to be kind of scared of or kind of be apprehensive about. It's just being mindful of that. So if something does appear, it's just going through kind of a little bit like a mental checklist, like, oh, let me check the email address that it's come from. Oh, let me check kind of all the details on an email that comes through or text message that comes through. And if in doubt, we want to go directly to the source without getting involved with the email or getting involved with the message, for example, as well, just to kind of cover our bases and make sure that we're kind of staying within our own kind of safety bubble as well. So let's kind of round off this session by looking at kind of what do we do if we've been scammed or we think we've been scammed? How do we actually gain back control? Because that's kind of the biggest thing when it comes to security and safety. It's all about being in control. We want to be in control of what we have, our information that's out there. Essentially, we want to make sure that nobody else is getting hold of that information unless we're giving them that information, and making sure that they're not getting into the wrong hands of the likes of scammers as well. So we've got a traffic light system that you can see here on screen. So I'm at a risk. So let's start off with, let's go from kind of green to red here. So if you receive kind of lots of scam emails, and maybe you've opened a scam email or two in the past, and maybe you do every so often. That's probably me. I'm kind of in the low risk category, so I still get quite a lot of scam emails. Luckily, a lot of them just filter through straight away into the spam folder, which is great. But there are some that kind of slip through the net, and then some that are very much look very real, even though I've gone through a lot of the checklists and I'm like, oh, I'm not too sure about this one. This looks very real. And then I open the email and then I realize, there's a few telltale signs here that definitely kind of give away the fact that this is actually a spoof email as well. So if you're at low risk, you don't really need to do anything. Just make sure that your security settings are still on point. And with those kind of scam emails that you get through, especially the ones that you're opening up by kind of accident, or the ones that you think this might be real, and then you open them up and you realize they're not, is just hit the word, move to spam. Now at least when that email comes through again, you won't typically see it because it will be going straight to your spam folder. Now we then get to kind of the amber, the yellow category here, which is medium risk. So if you've maybe replied to a scam email, or you've clicked a link within a scam email, or and it doesn't just apply to emails, it could be even kind of text messages as well at times. Although in terms of kind of from an email perspective, what you can do is run antivirus. You can do this on your smartphone as well. You can download antivirus software on your smartphone as well. But just run that through, do a thorough scan, make sure everything is all okay. And a lot of the times it is usually okay, but you just want to make sure, you just want to have that kind of that safety net as well. Even if it's kind of even if you get some of these pop-up malware adverts that kind of appear that we looked at earlier on, just kind of close that down. Just do a thorough scan of your device and make sure everything is all as it should be. as well. And that's where kind of antivirus really kind of helps us to provide that comfort at times, which is what we're after a lot of the times as well. And then we get kind of to the high risk category here. When you're in the red, you're like, oh wow, what do I do now? I gave over my details. I've given over my name, my address, my telephone number, my email address. I've given over my bank details as well, or I've downloaded a file onto my laptop, for example. What do I do then? So if you get to this kind of high risk category and you feel that you've been scammed, or you're not sure, I'd always steer on the side of caution and kind of go through a lot of kind of these steps just to make sure that you're okay, and you're kind of sealing up that bubble that you created for yourself for security reasons. So what you can do is, before you disconnect from the internet, and disconnect from the internet is great because that kind of stops anything further happening a lot of the times, is we want to make sure that we've got antivirus software. So definitely check out the Which Best Buy recommendations. Have a look at the website for that as well, and download which one you feel is most appropriate for you as well. And then you can disconnect from the internet, run a scan, a thorough scan, like we talked about in kind of the medium risk category as well. Make sure that everything is kind of as it should be, and there's nothing that's been kind of that's been flagged up at all. And then what we can do is, just as a kind of precautionary side, is we can look to kind of change passwords that we feel might have been compromised. Now, even if they've not been compromised, I always think it's best practice just to change passwords, especially passwords for kind of very sensitive information, such as maybe online banking. Just definitely those kind of things, just change them on a regular basis. And that's why having that kind of that password structure in place, we mentioned those kind of those three words. It's very kind of useful to kind of have that structure in place, because that's kind of helps us to kind of remember, okay, right, I'm changing my password, let me just create a variation of that, and then maybe I can store it in a password manager if I wish to as well. And also, when it comes to money, and you feel that, oh, I've given them my bank details and I feel like this is a scam, or it's a scamming website, or you just think that something's a little bit suspect here. If that's the case, a great kind of first port of call, as well as kind of disconnect from the internet, running your virus scan and changing your passwords, is to contact your bank. Give them a phone call. Majority of banks, I know, as in the UK, I'm sure similar sort of applies in other parts of the world, is that they tend to have kind of a fraud department, so that once you let them know, look, I've handed over my details, I think this might be a scam. So if you get anything coming through, if you get somebody who's trying to sort of charge my account, can you please kind of make sure that you put a stop on it and contact me? And then I can confirm whether that was me or whether that was somebody else, for example, as well. And that, again, just kind of helps us to be really kind of proactive about this, as opposed to waiting for something to happen as well. Now, in terms of kind of reporting cybercrime, if you're based in the UK, you have the services of Action Fraud that you can see here on screen. So that is the National Fraud and Cybercrime Reporting Centre. The numbers on screen here, and as well as their website address. And the beauty of Action Fraud is that once you have reported something to them, once you report an incident to them, they should give you a crime reference number, which is useful in the UK because you can then use this crime reference number when you are making a claim with your bank to recover lost money as well. And for those of you, I know many of you are tuning in from different parts of the world as well. Definitely kind of Google, have a look at what sort of kind of action fraud style kind of entities exist in your country as well. And also, another resource to kind of utilize is the Which website. So the Which website is really fantastic. It helps you to kind of see what are the current scams going on. As I mentioned, it's a forever kind of evolving space, as it's big business for these cyber criminals. So it's in their best interest to keep on kind of going and try to kind of look to outmaneuver us when it comes to our kind of checklist that we have in terms of seeing what's real, what's not. They're always looking to kind of outdo us as well. So we can kind of have a look at something like the scam alerts section of the Which website, just to see what's going on right now and be like, okay, I might keep this in mind, might be aware of this. I might just want to make sure that, if I come across this type of email, then I want to make sure I kind of run through my checks to make sure everything is as it should be. And another final resource to kind of mention here is the COVID-19 online scam section, which is on the Google Safety Center. And you can visit that using the link on screen here. I'm sure that Benedict will kind of drop a link to this in the chat for you as well. And again, you'll be able to kind of see what is kind of the most common COVID-19 online scams that are going on at the moment, because they're forever, again, evolving with that as well. So any final questions, which I can't see at this stage. So let's actually roll into your next step. So I hope that you found this webinar session useful. If you did, both myself and Benedict would appreciate a little bit of feedback to let us know what you enjoyed in particular. I've got a feedback form link, which is on screen here at goo.gold/digital garage feedback. I'm sure that Benedict will kindly drop a link to this in the live chat for you as well. Feel free to also share your experiences of tuning into this webinar session kind of online. If you're going to be sharing your experiences on something like social media, feel free to include our hashtag, which you can see here on screen, which is #Digital Garage as well. Feel free to rewatch this webinar session back. It's going to remain here on YouTube up until sometime tomorrow. So feel free to kind of go back and kind of jot down further notes on some of the tips and kind of best practices that we kind of discussed earlier on in terms of kind of what we can do with some of these common threats that exist online currently as well. Feel free to also visit Google Digital Garage website. Remember the links in the video description box below. Sign up for more webinars on a variety of other topics. Remember they're available to attend at no charge, just like this session was as well. And also check out the online courses section. Remember, it's the Fundamentals of Digital Marketing course, which is a course that upon completion, you'll receive a certificate from Google at no charge, recognizing that you completed that course as well. So apart from that, I want to say a massive thank you to Benedict, who I'm sure has been a wonderful chat moderator. And thank you for tuning in to this Google Digital Garage webinar session. And I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Thank you. Bye.